Well, reaching out to you today to talk about this weird thing called an exemplification essay. Um, I could give you some examples, ironically, but I think that the article here does a good job. The article on page 173 about what an exemplification essay should have as a part of it. And the highlights I want to make are the audience, the actual topic, and uh, the actual examples that you choose, right? The audience that you're writing to, the topic that you're writing about, and then the actual examples that you choose. That's really what you need to think about. This is that you could make this more complex than it should be. And if you choose to do an exemplification essay, um, I hope that you have a main point. You have a reason you want to talk about it. And um I'm not wanting to wrangle you in on this one. There's a lot of things you could talk about right now. This isn't high school. You get to write about what you want to write about. Okay. I'm a pretty open-minded guy. I'm strong-minded, but I'm open-minded. So whatever you've got for me, I'm open to hear it. So if there's some things that are going on right now that you would like to finally get to write about, great. And then give me some examples that make your point. So there's 5 or 6 that go through my mind that I probably in my high school classroom can't deal with. But here, because you're writing something individually to me, we can work on it. And all I'm going to do is evaluate how well you communicate it and whether you use strong enough word choice. The audience then would depend on what you're trying to write about. The audience, if you tell me this, my audience is, just to give you in my mindset, uh, my audience would be the Twitter feed of, or if I could post this article on Twitter or Snapchat or Facebook for my mom's friends to read, or for the president of the United States or the uh, Speaker of the House, or maybe your principal or your school administrator. There's a lot going on right now. Maybe your police chief. There's the key. I want you to tell me who your audience is. And immediately after you decide that, that's going to change the examples that you choose. Now, if you had read this, maybe you actually did, about exemplification, they talk about hiccups, and it's kind of random. They talk about hiccups, and this guy was for 60 years hiccuped. In the, I had a friend who hiccuped for like 2 days, and it was just every 15 seconds. It sounds like half a velociraptor squirrel from or squeal from Jurassic Park. He just would do it, and he's like, I don't know how I can't stop it. Can't imagine 60 years. It's pretty funny, but they give you an example, and then they tell you he's from Iowa, which is just up the road. We're not 300 miles from a town in Iowa. Maybe even 120 miles. Those are examples that you can relate to. Now, if they were writing this and they gave examples about tribal disputes in South Africa, you might be like, what? And you get lost. That example wouldn't help you understand exemplification. And so if your argument, your point you're trying to make about something that you care about, and you have an audience that you're trying to reach, that's going to impact the type of examples you use. And if you have to cite a source, remember you got to use MLA, yada, yada, yada. Well, every time I'm on here, my phone's blowing up. Sorry about that. So as I told you, I wanted you to think about your audience, and they talk about this in here. If you read it, uh, they start talking about, I thought this was a weird example that they chose with the JP Morgan and talking about his nose. I'm like, maybe some of you who are into finance, but I had a mayor from my hometown. His name was uh, PJ Morgan, and I think it was in reference to JP Morgan. But at the end, where was I here? Yeah, um, it talks about what kind of examples to use. So once you choose what you're passionate about, and then you decide the audience, and you tell me that, all of a sudden your rhetorical decisions change. And your rhetorical decisions, you're like, if I want to write to my mom's Facebook group, I got to consider examples to help them understand that they would relate to, not a TikTok that you watched, but maybe something that happened that they would be watching. And the concept is you want to take something that's abstract and use concrete examples, abstract ideas, and make them concrete. That's the goal, is to take something that isn't clear and make it more clear and make your point, and it ties into your thesis. And of course, when you are writing these examples, you don't forget what we said before, which was use your description essay tactics that I taught you. Don't use words such as good, like, got, get, just, thing. Use strong words in your examples. Make it clear. Give us, or if it's an anecdote, a little story, if there's a little dialogue in there, make sure your dialogue is proper. Like we saw that with the JP Morgan example, that there was people talking. And uh, there's a wasp. Actually, uh, she didn't put it into a dialogue form. She was supposed to hit an enter right here, wasn't she? I would have docked her. There's a point off, you superstar in writing. If you're going to write a little dialogue about it, put it in the right format and make sure you use vivid dialogue stems, and you're going to make a better point. So, to recap, I wanted to make sure that if you read this, you saw what they were discussing. Let me scroll down here without making you too sick. That you want to use examples that are helpful, but that your audience will understand and that make your point, and they're examples that are well coordinated, and your topic and your paper should be good. 500, 750 words. And all you're doing is show me you know how to do this. And being able to be succinct, and you don't need 6, 7 pages to make your point. You can do it in a page and a half. If you have questions, send me a text. Some of you are starting to text me. Good. Appreciate that. And if you're planning on doing a different essay, you're planning on doing a compare and contrast essay, go check out the video I'm going to post there, and we'll see how it goes. Have a good time. And you know what? Actually, I do need to say this before I stop. We're trying to get these things done by October 31st. And sorry that things are posting quicker, or that wasn't what I meant to have post. Hopefully things are clear as mud that October 31st, I want to have your midterm done, your one of the 2 essays done, and some idea on what you might have done if we wrote a paper on process analysis. And you've got a couple discussion boards where you're just supposed to tell me some things and post some things. And yeah, you do need to reply back and forth to each other. All right. Make sure you do that. It's always the Sunday after the initial post. You're supposed to post by Thursday, and then you reply to somebody by Sunday. All right. Thanks for letting me throw that in there.